Hi everyone and welcome to Back in Time Fiction, the channel dedicated to historical fiction and historical fantasy. This video will serve as a conclusion to the last bunch of videos I've published over the past 2-3 weeks maybe, which were themselves travel vlogs on my summer trip in China. If you haven't watched them, you still can, of course. And the reason why I've put some travel videos on the historical fiction channel is because this journey was on the theme of the Three Kingdoms of China. So this is the era my novels are set in. We are talking 2nd, 3rd century CE. So it was really a research/geeky trip for me, and maybe you are interested in doing such a trip in the future, or you want to know more about the one I did for other reasons. So I'm going to give you some thoughts regarding this journey. In this video I will tell you about the things that I really loved, the things I didn't care much about, the things I've missed, because I have missed some places along the way, but also things I didn't include in the previous videos because they were not related to the Three Kingdoms but still deserved to be mentioned. And I will also tell you more about China, my thoughts regarding China in 2023. So first, an explanation of this journey. It started in Hanzhong and ended in Chengdu with 3 major stops on the way. This is a big part of the northern expedition road taken by the Shu Han armies in their many attempts to defeat Cao Wei, and there are also a bunch of previous noteworthy moments such as the Battle of Dingjun or the conquest of Yi province by Liu Bei. So let's say from 211 to 263, this is where a big chunk of the Three Kingdoms drama happened. Now, of course, because this is part of the former Shu Han state, many of the places I visited are related to either Liu Bei or Zhuge Liang, a lot of Zhuge Liang, but also Jiang Wei and other characters such as Zhang Fei, for example. So yeah, if you are yourself a fan of Cao Cao or the Sun clan, that's not the best trip for you. And if you've read my novels, this is not where things happen yet. So right now in my novels, in my series, we are on book 3. Those places I visited this summer will not appear before book 7, I believe. First up, Hanzhong. In my videos, I only showed you Mian County, which is something like 30 kilometers from Hanzhong itself. But Hanzhong has some cool stuff to see as well. You have, first and foremost, the palace of Liu Bang, the founder of the Han Dynasty. Three Kingdoms wise, you have a few things I didn't get to see, notably a temple dedicated to Wei Yan, a stone marking the place where he was killed, and someone mentioned an inscription from Cao Cao himself, though I didn't get where exactly. Hanzhong was nice, but Mian County was the interesting part. As you've seen, it was raining quite hard when I got there, I was fairly miserable, and to be honest, Zhuge Town wasn't that amazing. Now, Wuho Temple was awesome, and Ma Chao Tomb as well. Those were really worth visiting. Dingjun might have been great, but with this weather, I didn't really get to enjoy it much. And my biggest regret of this journey, Zhuge Liang's tomb, not just his shrine, but his actual tomb is there, and I didn't see it. Why? Simply because I didn't manage my transportation well. So if you go to Mian County, my #1 advice would be to hire a driver for the day. It's quite easy to arrange with the staff of your hotel. It's not super expensive. It's not so much more expensive than just hiring a taxi to go there and back. And you will get to experience Mian County with the help of someone who knows the place and might recommend you some spots, but also you can just take your time, which is great. Then I went from Hanzhong to Guangyuan, and I didn't show you much or anything about Guangyuan because Three Kingdoms wise, it doesn't boast a lot of stuffs. Nevertheless, this is a really cool town. You know right away that you entered Sichuan when you get to Guangyuan. People are really friendly, they are quite laid back too, and the food is spicier as well. Now, if I remember well, Guangyuan is the birthplace of Wu Zetian, and it has a bunch of really good-looking temples and landmarks, including the Cliff of the Thousand Buddhas, which I visited. Here is a short clip of it. if you want your trip to be 100% Three Kingdoms, you can skip Guangyuan and head directly to Zhaohua, which is really close to Jianmen Pass. I really advise you to spend the night in Zhaohua. Their hotels are beautiful, the atmosphere in the evening is quite funny, then you can go to Jianmen the next day. You have to do both, to be honest. Those were the highlights of my trip. Speaking of Jianmen Pass, you can enter from the northern or the southern gate. If all you care is the pass, as in the fortification, and the Three Kingdoms stuff, take the southern entrance and avoid all the climbing. This being said, the climbing was really fun. You have 3 ways to get to the top of the mountain. The easy way is with the cable cars. Or you have 2 other paths, the bird's path, the one we used, and the monkey path, which requires you to use climbing gears and is a bit more extreme. Zhaohua was easily my favorite part of this journey. It was a touristic place, but still has this true village look that makes you feel like people actually live there, which they do. Feiyi's temple was beautiful, the bamboo garden as well. You have other buildings worth visiting like the Temple of Confucius or the Examination Hall. It's a fairly small town, it doesn't require much time, but I really enjoyed it. Next came Hanzhong, and maybe there was a bit of a fatigue here for me, but I didn't enjoy it as much, though still more than Zhuge Town. Now, besides Zhongfei's tomb, you don't have much from the Three Kingdoms. You probably have a bunch of shows and attractions on this topic, but that's it. Now, the ancient town is quite big actually, and it is easy to enjoy just strolling around. Now, I was quite surprised by one thing there, and it was certainly true for the previous stops. It's the lack of interesting souvenirs that can be bought. You hardly have a Three Kingdoms t-shirt, for example. However, and this is quite an amazing bonus point for Hanzhong, they have outstanding coffee shops, some of the best I've experienced in my life. And finally, Chengdu, or more specifically Wuhouzi. This one I knew quite well, but I was blown away by the things they have added to this Wuhou temple. Since I last went, they have opened a museum about Three Kingdoms in different media, also a museum mostly dedicated to Zhuge Liang and Liu Bei and their relationship, and some other structures. Just for this Wuhou temple, it's worth going to Chengdu, but the city itself is really fun as well. Now, one last point regarding this trip. As mentioned earlier, I found it difficult to find good souvenir shops as far as the Three Kingdoms are concerned. You have some good ones in Jingli, the small street next to the Wuhou temple in Chengdu, but the best shops I have seen were actually inside the temple, right in the middle. So, little advice here, don't buy anything until you have visited Wuhou Temple in Chengdu. Now, I have to say, traveling in China is getting increasingly difficult. I am super lucky that my family-in-law is Chinese and that they helped us with things like getting a SIM card, explaining us the new apps, sending us invitation letters, and so on, these kind of things. Because if you are traveling in China and you don't have a Chinese phone number, a Chinese bank account, you don't have apps like Alipay and WeChat Pay, and you can't read Chinese, it's getting tricky. 13 years ago, when I first set foot in China, all you needed was cash. It has changed a lot since then, but actually some of those things got easier. For example, getting inside a train with a passport rather than a Chinese ID card used to be fairly tricky. It could take a long time, it was complicated, and now at this time I felt like it was easier. Same with the museums, they don't require you to give a passport as much as in the past, so it's easier to get inside a museum nowadays for foreigners. But yeah, most of the time it's just a bunch of headaches. Now, this is nothing new, but you still can't use all the websites and apps that you are used to, but to make things worse, since the COVID started and with all the lockdowns that China had, they kind of got unused to serving foreign tourists. So for example, I feel like all the hotels I went to struggled to check me in. Some of them didn't even remember how to check in foreign tourists. It makes sense though, and to be honest, in all this journey, I've seen one group of foreign tourists. I haven't seen any foreigner in either, Hanzhong, but Mian County, Zhaohua, Jianmen Pass, Hanzhong, or even in Wuhou Temple. Not one foreign tourist while I was there. This is an absolute first to me. And I think every day, yeah, definitely every day, I had kids, usually kids, seeing me, then turning around to their mom and being like, oh my god, look, there's a foreigner. Those kids, most of them born during or a little bit before the COVID started, have never seen a foreigner before. I have lived in China for 3 years and this almost never happened to me. When I was there this summer, yeah, at least 5 to 10 times a day, right? People seemed surprised to see me. And I went to some very big places, very touristic or just big cities, right? I didn't go just to the countryside, right? So yes, this journey was super worth it. I could have organized it better, and sometimes it was a bit difficult to travel as a foreigner. So if you plan a trip like this, feel free to contact me through Twitter or any other way you can find me, and I will gladly give you some tips from my experience. In the description of this video, I will share with you the links to the hotels I've used during this journey, the ones I liked. At least I will also share the playlist of all the songs I've used in those videos, and of course the links to my books, because I know this is really why you are here. That's it for me, guys. Thank you very much for following me on this journey. I hope you enjoyed it. I certainly did, and I look forward to the next one. I will come back very soon with our regular videos. There will be some nice reviews, of course, but also some author interviews and even a live very soon. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Until then, you know, grab a book and enjoy. See ya.